All right, we're going to try this once again. Hello, my name is Kelly, and I'm an Education USA advisor here in Lima, Peru. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Before we begin with our presentation about how to finance your graduate education in the US, I wanted to mention a few things. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type them in the chat box. We will give them to the presenter at the end for the question and answer section. The presentation today will be about Education USA and the services that we offer. And in the second part of the presentation, we'll go ahead and talk about Prodigy Finance. So let's begin. All right, so our presentation today, we're going to talk about Education USA, the 5 steps to applying to US universities, the centers that we have in Peru to help you in your application process, the social networks that we have for you to read about new articles, new exams, and opportunities like these, such as the webinar. And then we'll pass the mic to Prodigy Finance. All right, so to begin, I'd like to talk to you about Education USA. Education USA is your official source of information about higher education opportunities in the United States. We are part of an international network of advising centers, and we are supported by the US government, specifically the Department of State. Our mission is to provide complete and impartial information about higher education opportunities in the US and the application process to over 4,000 US universities that are accredited. In any advising center that you visit, whether it's in Lima, or it's in Tokyo, or it's in Santiago, you will always be advised by an expert in the higher admissions process, as well as someone who's probably studied in the US or who's lived there extensively. All advisors in all the countries use a 5-step program to help students complete their application process. The first step is to investigate your options. There are over 4,000 universities in the US. There are over 690 types of careers. So you need to really do your research and figure out which opportunities are best for you, depending on your academic level, English level, and economic level. The second step is understanding how to finance your education. In the United States, there are many scholarships available to international students for the undergraduate level as well as the graduate level. And it's important for you to do your research because not every institution has the same financial aid policies. Completing your application. Every US university is going to require many steps for you to apply. The most important for international students being the TOEFL IBT exam. The TOEFL IBT is an exam that evaluates your international English level, and it's for academic use. Many of you joining us today are interested in master's and PhD programs. You will probably have to take the GRE exam as well, which is a graduate record examination. In the United States, we don't have admission exams, so the graduate record examination is the closest exam to an aptitude exam for graduate study. Apart from these international exams, be prepared to present CVs, essays explaining why you want to do a master's or a PhD, letters of recommendation, and in many cases, there are also interviews involved. Finally, once you have applied to your programs, completing all of these steps, once you get admission results and you are able to finance your education, you will be ready to apply for your US student visa. There are 2 types of visas that most of our students qualify for. One of them is the F1 visa, to be a student, or the J1 visa, if you were to earn a scholarship from the Peruvian government or from the American government. Finally, the 5th and last step is helping you meet all the other students in your country that are traveling to the US this year through an Education USA pre-departure orientation, where we're going to describe what the American campus is like, how to prepare to be successful in an American classroom and in an American setting. So these would be the 5 steps that we are not going to go into today because there really isn't too much time for that. But these are the 5 steps that essentially are going to be the starting and end of any application program with Education USA. If you visit our centers, we can offer you personalized advising sessions, citas de asesoría. In Lima, we have 2 centers. One is in Miraflores, the other is in San Borja. And essentially, for a modest fee, you will be able to set up a meeting with an advisor. We're going to talk about your goals, and we're going to help you create action plans. Finally, I know most of you are on social networks. We are as well, sharing information, activities, events such as these that are going to help you understand better the application process to pregrados and postgrados in the US. So if you don't already, I would recommend that you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just so you know, this presentation that we're recording today will be uploaded to our YouTube channel in 48 hours. So with that, I'd like to introduce our main presenter for today, who is joining us directly from New York City, and that would be Zack. Zack, can you hear us? Or could you say a few words?
Hi, Kelly. And hello,
Great.
Kelly.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Everyone here joining the call. Wonderful. Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for that nice introduction. And I'm really excited to chat with you about, once you actually get into the programs, how to go about funding those programs. So would you like me to get started, Kelly? All right. So why don't we get right into it? So as Kelly mentioned, my name is Zack Hirschfeld. I'm Student Relations Manager at Prodigy Finance, located in New York City, which is where I'm located currently. We also have offices in London and in Cape Town, South Africa as well. So we get to travel around quite a bit to all the different countries where we fund students, and it's a wonderful time to get to meet all of the great students looking to study at top universities around the world. So in terms of the next steps, and forgive me if this presentation is, at least the text is more tailored towards MBA or business programs, because that is traditionally what we fund at Prodigy Finance. However, we do fund other programs such as engineering, public policy, and LLM degrees, the law degrees. So please forgive me in terms of that. But let's say you decided to go to graduate school in the U.S. What are the next steps that you should be thinking about? As Kelly mentioned, there are many different tests and fees associated with trying to gain admission into these great programs. There are also costs in terms of a deposit, costs in terms of moving to campus, and then the actual cost of tuition and living expenses while you're on campus. So it's really important once you're, before you've actually made the step to going to campus and enrolling in the program, start thinking about how much money you'll need to cover the entire cost of the program. And really in terms of my involvement with Prodigy, getting to be able to speak to students that are in these programs, these graduate programs are great investments in you and your future. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of everything on campus, such as student clubs, going to professional networking opportunities, possibly there are trips involved in your studies. You want to make sure that you're involved in all of these types of social and professional engagements that could potentially cost money. So you want to make sure that you have enough funds to be able to take advantage of everything that your program has to offer. So one way that I always advise my students to, and we can quickly go over this, and then I'll give you a little bit more background on specifically how to do this with Prodigy. But in terms of budgeting for this great cost, which will be your upcoming program, is the figure of what's called cost of attendance. So cost of attendance is a figure that all programs will give. The Office of Admissions and the Office of Financial Aid will all have these specific numbers for your program. And this is cost of attendance, which includes tuition, fees, and living expenses. So everything wrapped into one number that you can decide, okay, I want to attend this computer science program at Carnegie Mellon, or I want to attend this MBA program at Duke University. These programs cost different amounts, and so it's important to understand that exact cost, which is why this cost of attendance figure is very helpful. So in terms of where you are right now, how are you going to pay for this? So there are a number of different ways, and I've put together here a short list of options that you can use. So personal savings, so that would be savings from your personal bank account. You could apply for a scholarship. That could be from the school itself, or perhaps a private scholarship from Peru or somewhere else. There's also company sponsorship. So some companies will sponsor their employees to get a degree somewhere else. So that is a potential way to, if you're lucky enough to get that sponsorship. Furthermore, that you can perhaps get a generous gift from friends or family if you're so lucky. And then once you've exhausted these options, then I think it makes sense to look into a student loan if that is something that you're interested in doing to sort of fill out the gap in that cost of attendance. So a student loan can be really a great asset for you if you're looking to move forward with your graduate school experience. So a little bit about Prodigy. Prodigy is a great way to get the student loan because we really are the pioneer in this space. Traditionally, it's very hard for an international student to get a loan at a university in the U.S. And really the reason is because banks in the U.S. that work with these universities can't properly assess your credit. They look at you from another country and they say, you know what, we don't want to deal with that, so we're not going to assess that student and we're not going to give them any funds for school. Whereas Prodigy, we take an entirely different look. The company Prodigy was founded in 2007 by international MBA students from Cape Town, South Africa originally, going to school at INSEAD, which is the business school in France. And they were international students trying to figure out, you know, I'm a good student from a good background, going to a good school. Why can I get financing? And so they actually created the business while in school and then built the business after graduation. And so we've been lucky enough since 2007 to fund over 4,000 students around the world from nearly 120 countries from around the world. So many from Peru and the rest of Latin America, to Nigeria, to South Africa, to Australia, India, you name it, we've funded a student from that particular country. So it's been a really great experience so far, and what we've been able to do is fund these students going to the top 100 schools around the world. So we started with MBA programs, with the top 100 MBA programs by Financial Times ranking, and now we've extended to some of those programs, some of those universities, at their engineering, public policy, and law programs. So we're lucky enough to be able to give this service to a number of international students around the world, which has been very gratifying for us. In terms of the benefits with Prodigy, there are many. Here are the sort of top 5 that I speak with students about. First of all, with Prodigy loans, there are never any cosigners, collateral, or guarantors. What we've been able to do is create a risk and credit assessment model that is unique for us, and we are able to assess your credit worthiness without any cosigners or collateral, which is a really nice feature. Furthermore, there is a grace period of 6 months after graduation. So once you finish your studies, you don't have to pay anything until 6 months after those classes end. Furthermore, there are no upfront costs to drawing down a Prodigy loan. There is an administrative fee of 2.5% of the total loan amount, but that is completely pushed to your loan repayment. So that is what we call amortized. So it's added to your total loan amount, and then you pay that admin fee off in addition to the total loan amount over the course of the duration of the loan. As a general rule, our loans are between 7, 10, and 15 years repayment. In terms of repayment, if you wish to pay early, you can certainly do so, and that will be no fees or penalties whatsoever. Essentially, the sooner you pay off the loan, the less interest you will owe overall, which is a really nice feature. And furthermore, you're joining a really nice community of Prodigy borrowers. So over the past several years, since 2007, we've created a Prodigy alumni community of over 4,000 students. And that is something that you can tap into, that you can gain access to once you become a Prodigy borrower, going to events around the world, getting connected to fellow students in your area, things like that. So it's a really nice community for you to be able to join. So in terms of something else, let's see. So in terms of how it actually works, the loan. So the loan process is completely online. The application from the time you tell us all of your information to submission, it is quite simple. Most students receive loan offers within seconds of submitting your application, but some students, depending on the particular type of application, will take up to 5 business days. So at the very least, within 5 business days from submitting your application, you'll be able to know what your loan amount and interest rate is for your particular loan. For this model that I spoke about, we assess each student individually. So it is not based on your family, it's not based on anything at all except you and your own merit, how much we believe that you can afford in terms of a loan from Prodigy. Once you receive a loan offer, you'll then be asked to submit some supporting documentation, which, depending on how many documents you need to retrieve, may take a week or 2 weeks to finish. But as a general rule, it's a very simple process. And and once again, everything is online. So there are no fax machines or mailing of any kind that you need to do. And furthermore, in terms of funding, you can request funding either during school or during the application process. When you are applying to school, you can request funding at any time during this process. And once again, if you have any questions, we will be able to go over some questions at the end of this presentation. So I believe as Kelly let you know, you can use the chat box at any time, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. In terms of the loan offer, how exactly does this work? So in the loan application, you'll tell us a number of points about yourself. So where you're from, what your past work experience has been, what your GMAT or GRE score is, and a number of other factors. And we'll then assess your application and then give you this loan amount and an interest rate in your loan offer. So in terms of the loan amount, this will be determined by how much we believe you can afford in a loan over the repayment period. And furthermore, this will also depend on the school's eligibility. So on the school's cost of attendance figure, that will determine how much you can apply for. But that is all in the application, and it's very transparent in terms of how much you would be able to apply for. In terms of interest rates are between 5.5 and 8.5%. This is what we call a margin, and then that is also added to 3-month US LIBOR, which is a variable rate. So you will have that fixed rate, let's say 7%, and then attached to a variable rate. For instance, right now LIBOR is 0.67%. So if you take that in total, it would be 7.67% would be your rate of interest for the loan. In terms of how you can use the funds, most schools, you can use Prodigy funds for both tuition and living expenses. If you have particular questions on a school, please let me know, and I'll be able to answer if they will be able to accept both tuition and living expenses. And in terms of the funds, all funds are dispersed directly to the school. In the case of living expenses, we will disperse everything to the school, and then anything that you're not using for tuition, the school will then transfer those funds from their account directly to your student account with the school. And just to give you a little bit of a better understanding in terms of the loan size, it will be about $40,000 is the average loan size, but certainly depending on the program cost, that could go up or down, and also depending on your individual need in a loan. So this is a really exciting time for you, and we want to be a part of the journey for you going to graduate school. So I'm very excited to be a resource for you, and the rest of the Prodigy team around the world is excited for you to get this education, and for us to play a small part in allowing you to get this education. So if you have any further questions, either right now you can speak to Kelly and me, or you can email me or Skype me at these particular contact points. I'd be happy to speak with you individually to learn more about your situation. So with that, thank you, Kelly, and the rest of the attendees, and let's get into some questions.
Great. Zach, I hope you can hear me. I think we have one question right now, and it's from Sylvia. It's about what universities, if there's a specific list that you all work with, and I'm guessing subsequently where they could find that list of universities.
Yes, so we work, the list we work with is based on the Financial Times ranking. So I will actually put in the chat box here the URL. That URL will take you to the Financial Times rankings for the MBA programs. But now how it works is for the most part, the top 25 schools in these rankings, if they have an engineering program or a law program or a public policy program, we can fund those programs as well. So if you're looking for MBA, it would be in the top 100 of this list.
Okay, and I see that we have another question. This is from Peter. It's about when they can apply to Prodigy Finance. Before getting admitted,
Yes, so,
after getting admitted.
yes, so you can apply to Prodigy at any time. You will not be able to actually have the loan dispersed or to have the loan approved officially if you are not already admitted to the school. So what you can do, if you're just interested in learning more about how much you could qualify for, you could go online and fill out an application, depending on what school you're targeting. So what you could do is apply online, and then, but unfortunately, you will not be able to move further in the process. You will be able to get a loan offer and an interest rate, but you will not be able to move further in the process until you are actually admitted and you can provide what we call proof of admission. So you would send us via the online platform your admissions letter stating that you are in fact going to be enrolled in that school.
And one of the questions that I have is about how many Peruvians or Latin Americans you can talk to us about that have used Prodigy, and maybe just some examples of the what program.
Absolutely. So we fund many Latin American students. So I can't tell you offhand exactly how many, but I will tell you that out of the 4,000 or so students borrowing with Prodigy, I would say about 20% of those students come from Latin America. So it's quite a large amount, and we see the majority of those students go into MBA programs as well as engineering programs and some public policy programs as well. For instance, and even law programs. For instance, I was just on the Berkeley and Stanford campuses last week and met with probably, I'd actually say maybe half of those students that I met with. So maybe about 20 students I met with personally were coming from Latin American countries such as Brazil.
All right, guys. I think Zach's connection froze for a little bit. And so while he gets connected again, I'm going to go ahead and answer something that Julio asked, which is about structural engineering programs. From my understanding, primarily in Prodigy, they're funding MBAs.
Such as Peru.
Oh, there he goes. Okay.
So if you if you can, Julio, go onto our website, prodigyfinance.com, and you can look at all the different universities.
All right. Tell me if you can hear
Okay,
me.
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Kelly?
Yes, I can. Very clearly.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so if you could, if you all go to the link I just provided, the Prodigy Get a Loan link, you'll be able to enter the particular school of engineering that you're interested in, and you'll be able to see if we do fund that program. So if the school's in the list, we can fund your engineering program. That this would be this would be mostly masters. At the moment, we do not fund PhD programs, but master's programs we do fund.
Now, I have a question about Prodigy loans. So let's say a student gets admitted to the MIT MBA school and they apply to Prodigy for the loan. Are there certain qualities that the student that applies for the loan should have? Maybe a certain amount of savings or credit line? What kind of checks do you all, I guess, realize in order to select a student and determine their eligibility for your loan?
Sure, absolutely. So students were looking for certainly. Oh, you can say hi. Say hi to Khadijah here, everyone. Hi, everyone. So she is she works in our office here, and she's just taking care of some of our plants in the office. So she says hello. So in terms of the qualities that we're looking for, they're not necessarily steadfast in terms of you need to have X to be able to qualify for the loan. In general, what we're looking for is a student that a student that does have work experience, that has made a salary in the past, and that also is certainly been admitted to the school. So really the most important thing is that admission to the school. But in terms of the savings that you need, you do not need a certain threshold of savings in terms of getting eligibility for a loan. However, we do need to make sure that you'll be able to provide for yourself the entire cost of attendance. So as normally, we do not provide the entire cost of the program. So in that case, if let's say the program is $80,000 per year and you receive $40,000 from Prodigy, you will need to come up with the rest of that $40,000 in savings, in scholarship, in sponsorship, some other way, and we will need to know that in order to move you through the process. So that is definitely something that we consider, but in terms of qualifying for a certain amount of funds with Prodigy, in terms of the loan amount, no, you do not need to have a certain amount of savings in your bank account to be able to qualify. I will also say that we will ask for a credit report from Peru. And this is done after the credit decision, but it's more of just a check on your personal credit history in Peru, just to understand that you haven't defaulted on any accounts, that you have not been bankrupt or anything like that. It's more of just a check, but it will not change your loan amount or your interest rate depending on your credit report.
Perfect. And I wanted to mention, Zach, that I went to the website, and under your FAQs, there's a very detailed list about what engineering program masters are covered, among them Carnegie Mellon, Cornell, Duke, Harvard, as well as the Masters in Public Policy, for those of you that want to do work in the Ministries of Education of Peru or elsewhere, Masters in Law, and as Zach mentioned multiple times, great MBA programs.
Great.
Mm-hmm. I think that there was one other question from Maite. No, it's for undergraduates. The Prodigy scholarships are only for graduate level programs, right?
Yes, that is correct. These are only for graduate school.
Okay, is there perhaps, Zach, maybe one story that you remember this year or last year, a really important or touching case of a student that was able to get access to this Prodigy loan and is now, I don't know, living his dream or something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, my main job at Prodigy is traveling around, speaking with students, trying to understand their stories, trying to work through them with the application process, things like that. So I really have so many great interactions with students on campus. Like I was just saying, I was just at Stanford and UC Berkeley last week. I was speaking with a student who just started. She's from Guatemala, and she was really having trouble trying to find how she was going to fund her education. And she got into this great program, UC Berkeley, but she doesn't have a great background in terms of savings or family that she can lean upon. She started her own nonprofit going in the education sector in Guatemala City, and she really wanted to use her MBA education to catapult her to new networks and to be able to make even a bigger impact back in Guatemala. And so I was able to work with her for quite a few months before she started school at UC Berkeley at the Haas School of Business, and I just got to meet her for the first time last week. And it was so great, and she was so unbelievably thrilled by the process and the fact that I was able to meet her in person, and we were able to really develop a personal connection as well. Prodigy, we really are all about the personal connections with our students. We want to understand why you're going to the particular school. We want to understand why are you looking to get this Prodigy loan? Really, what is your impact? Because we think of ourselves as an impact company, so we want our students to be doing great things in the world as well. So that is just one student from Guatemala, but there are countless other students that I speak with around the world about getting loans with Prodigy.
Great. And I guess my final question to go ahead and wrap up the presentation is, Zach, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what brought you to Prodigy, how long you've been there, and why you like what you do so much.
Absolutely. So I've been with Prodigy since last July, so about a little over a year now, and it's been a fantastic experience. I personally come from the sort of entrepreneurship nonprofit sector, where I worked in sort of environmental and food justice programs, but then I also have a background in terms of my schooling in international relations and international business. So what I love about Prodigy is it's a company that combines sort of this international community with social impact, with the ability to provide a service for students who wouldn't ordinarily get access to this type of education. So that's what's been really, really rewarding for me. And it's just also to see what we've been able to expand and grow upon. We've created, when I first joined, we just entered the U.S. and Canadian areas in terms of providing students loans to schools in the U.S. and Canada, and now we're able to provide not just MBA programs there, but also engineering. Prodigy and have a great experience once they get onto campus.
All right. Well, Zach, thank you so much. This was a very useful presentation. I think that for most students who are considering applying to top schools, which is most students I've met, one of the biggest hurdles has always been, how could I ever pay for it? And I think that with Prodigy, there's definitely a good opportunity, along with other opportunities such as financing they could find from the graduate schools themselves. Like you mentioned before, having your own budget. It's never too early to save for your dreams. And at least you have an ally, thanks to Zack. And Prodigy, of course. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you have follow-up questions, I'm going to conclude here with our social media networks. So you can feel free to write us messages or tweet at us, and we will make sure to send the questions you have to Zack or to answer them ourselves about any other part of this process. So thank you so much and have a wonderful Wednesday. Goodbye, Zack. Bye.